This is Keys to the Shop, Founder Friday edition. Today we're talking with Ochen Simon Eidodo of Chariots Coffees in Uganda. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFirio. I'm your host for the show. Thanks a lot for tuning in today. Now, if you haven't subscribed to Keys to the Shop, I would definitely encourage you to hit subscribe wherever you're listening to your podcasts, and you'll be up to date with all the new episodes we've got coming out. And also, if you could share these episodes with a friend, and if you love what Keys to the Shop does, rate or review the show on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating there. It really helps the show's ranking and helps people find the content, and that would be really awesome if you would do that. Thanks so much to all of you who have already done those things. Now, Keys to the Shop, on top of doing the podcast, offers consulting and coaching for you and your business, whether we're talking about remote over-the-phone consultation or on-site assessment of your cafe, training of your staff, and generally helping you level up your operations, your people, and your quality. Keys to the Shop Consulting is all about helping you avoid needless mistakes and build foundations for a thriving coffee business. Now, if you're interested in working with me at Keys to the Shop Consulting, then you just need to reach out to me by emailing chris@keystotheshop.com, and we can set up a free discovery call and talk about what you've got going on in your business, or maybe you're just opening your own business, and figure out if working with Keys to the Shop Consulting is right for you. Again, that email for Keys to the Shop Consulting, chris@keystotheshop.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Prima Coffee. If you're in the market for commercial coffee equipment, you know that selecting the right equipment and quality equipment it can be a stressful thing. Let's just say that. But when you work with Prima Coffee, you can rest assured that you're working with people who have not only brought in the best equipment that they can find, but also work with you to select the right equipment for your particular business, be it a drive-through, brick and mortar, mobile operation, whatever it is. They're dedicated to equipping you for success in specialty coffee, whether you're looking for espresso machines, grinders, or brewers, or even under-counter refrigeration. They've got you covered. And now, if you're a Keys to the Shop listener, you can get 5% off your entire order when you go to their website, prima-coffee.com/keys, and use the code KEYS5 at checkout. That's KEYS and the number 5 when you check out over at prima-coffee.com/keys, and that gives you 5% off your entire order. So super generous offer from great people, an amazing company to work with. Again, if you're looking for commercial equipment for your business, prima-coffee.com/keys. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Pacific Barista Series, which allows so many people around the world to provide the most excellent plant-based beverage experience possible. The Barista Series line truly is the gold standard for plant-based performance beverages because it's designed for professional baristas and with the feedback of the barista community, so you know if you're using anything from their complete lineup of plant-based beverages on your bar, it's going to stand up to the heat from steaming, produce amazing texture so you can make latte art on every drink, and the balance of the beverage, the flavor of it, is going to remain focused on the coffee. These things are really important to your customers, and if you want consistent excellence in every drink, then using the Barista Series is a clear choice. Go to their website over at pacificfoodservice.com to learn more, get it in your shop, and try it for yourself. Again, if you want to serve the best plant-based beverages, then you should be serving the Barista Series from Pacific. All right, everybody, welcome to another Founder Friday episode for this month of June. I'm really excited to present this conversation today with Ochen Simon Eidodo of Chariots Coffees in Uganda. Chariots Coffees and Barista Academy was established in 2018 by Simon, who was a very accomplished and renowned professional barista who won the Barista Championship of Uganda in 2018. His experience in coffee brought a high level of quality in the coffee value chain of products geared towards promoting the highest level of coffee quality production from farm to cup in Uganda. Their goal at Chariots Coffees is to be the best coffee buyers and sellers of high-quality Arabica coffees in Uganda, and also train a workforce of highly professional and passionate baristas in Uganda. And as you'll see in this conversation, all of that is going to promote and boost the rate of domestic consumption. And Simon has just really hit the ground running and really been a catalyst for change for the barista profession and the perception of coffee in Uganda. So I think you're really in for a treat here. Let's get right to the conversation. Here now is my interview with Ochen Simon Eidodo of Chariots Coffees. Well, Simon, welcome to Keys to the Shop. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. How are you?
I'm okay, Chris. How are you today?
I'm doing really well.
Thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that was born from years of experience and basically competition level experience almost from the beginning for you. And you're doing so much with Chariots Coffee now. You're importing or sourcing and roasting and teaching. How did you enter into the coffee industry? And, in Uganda, how did this all start for you to pursue this as a career?
Chris, I started joining into the coffee industry 11 years ago. That is in 2010. And it was through a friend of mine who just gave me an idea of what happens in the National Barista Championship within my country. And little did I know about anything concerning barista championships and preparations of coffees like cappuccino, lattes, and the espressos. So for me, at first, it was like, it's a joke because me, professional, I was a journalist and there was nothing so special about coffee. I used to hear about coffee, but to me, there was nothing so special about it. So however, when this gentleman introduced me into coffee through UCDA, I actually realized that this is something I was looking forward for all along, even when I was in high school. I wanted to do something that was related with the food, assessing flavors in food. And then also I saw something very fascinating in the coffee industry when they were doing flowers on the cups. So amazingly, I got so much interested in it. And I took over the career and started in 2011. And in 2010, then I was able to start competitions and join the national competitions in 2011. That's how I came into the coffee industry.
Great. So you always wanted to do something in the food industry, you said, and coffee and the competitions really struck a chord with you. I mean, why did you want to do something in the food industry? What was it about the hospitality industry that really resonated with you?
One of the things that I really loved most was seeing my mother, whenever she would cook, the food she would cook, and I would always wish to be like her. And along the way, when I went to high school, in my A level, I decided to do food and nutrition. And my main intention was, after finishing my high school, I go to the university and do food and nutrition. Unfortunately, I was not able to do it. I was not given that course. So I ended up doing MASCOM. Along the way, before I joined even MASCOM, I was already doing my vacation job as a service waiter in an Italian restaurant where they were serving these foods. The drinks, the cappuccinos, the espressos, the latte, but they were not made the way I expected before I was introduced into the coffee industry. They were just like, for example, if I give an example of a cappuccino, they would just do an espresso and then they froth some milk and then they pour just froth on top and then they top up with a chocolate powder and that is it. So when this friend of mine introduced me into in UCDA, it was an answer to what I was looking for because I found that you could even describe flavors in coffee, something that I didn't ever think about. I knew the descriptions of espressos, the crema, the beauty. The service looked so excellent for me. The cappuccinos were complemented with latte art. And for sure, I was like, I think my dream has come true. And I definitely, even after I'd finished my mass comm course, I just had to go for barista. And that is how I came in 2011 with one hat to compete for the championship.
Wow, that's great. So it's kind of a revelation what coffee could be. And,
True.
you know, in a producing country like Uganda, was it something that was, I mean, for a lot of people in a country, a producing country, sometimes it's just a commodity. It's not something that, like you mentioned, you didn't really think much of it. How did your revelation on, you know, what coffee could be in the service and the flavors and all of those things change, or did it change the way that you viewed coffee even from your home country?
Yes, number one, first of all, it changed in this way. The first one, I used to consume coffee as a normal commodity, like any other thing. First of all, I knew it as a cash crop before even I came into the coffee industry. And even when I was in the hotel industry, when I was a waiter, I knew it as a normal cash crop. And even when we were doing the espressos, it was normal. It was not until that when I joined the UCDA, when I realized that coffee was actually a gold mine, a hidden treasure. And that's when I used to drink instant coffee, and I used to think it was the best. It was at that time that I realized that what I was rejecting was the right quality. And then when I realized that, I decided to now start pursuing on how to discover how to get the best of this coffee. That is now when I started studying, embracing barista training programs. And I now came to realize that for me to know all this and get to another level as a career, I needed to learn how to work with a team. That is the value chain of coffee production. So it changed my whole concept, and it changed my concept, my concept in a way that I needed to create a team of people to work with, which was the chain of coffee production, with the intentions of developing and producing the very best quality. That would be basically attractive and attract the attention of the youth or the people who were like me before to start consuming coffee, but the very best.
Well, that's great. That it sounds like competition and the way that baristas, even though you're one person up on the stage, your research and the exploration that the competition kind of gives you a platform for really impacted the way you viewed coffee and built that team mindset. And so when you started competing, you pursued this to the point where you became the Uganda Barista Champion. Describe a little bit about how you developed as a professional over the course of your competition. And I know you mentioned pursuing a team of people to bring the best coffee. And how else did this process of developing yourself in your career through competition in the beginning, how did that impact the rest of your career?
The first point where it impacted on my career was learning how to work with people of different levels. And then secondly, it changed the way, number one, financially I changed, by the way. It opened up my doors in terms of the job industry. When I started doing that, I was able to get connections. Number one, I had now opportunities to work with some of the most five-star hotels within the country. Like, I remember when I became the second in the National Barista Championship, that is in 2011, 2012, I was able to be absorbed by Serena Hotel, one of the five-star hotels. And that even connected me more to the rest of the people, the high professionals in the coffee industry globally in the world, because I was able to access them when they come to Uganda and even share more information with them, because they would always be staying in in that hotel. Another thing is it broadened my mind thought. First of all, my passion grew, a passion for coffee, and passion to discover how to add more value onto coffee, right from the whole value chain up to the level of using the variable techniques to develop flavor as a barista in the cup with the intentions of satisfying the demand and the desire or the preference of our customers. So that alone built my professional achievement in the coffee industry.
When did you, as you became this career barista and you've won your championship and you've got these doors opening for you, there's a lot of different paths that somebody can go down after competition. You can become a consultant, you can become basically a freelance barista, you can do demonstrations and all this other stuff. When did you decide to start Chariots, and what was the concept behind it when you first started? Describe that moment for us.
Okay, in 2016, I left Kampala Serena Hotel and I decided to start my own consultancy. And the consultancy was basically to train baristas get deals to train baristas in coffee shops or establishing new coffee shops, and then train baristas even in bars, restaurants, and hotels. So that's when I started 2016. Before 2016, I was just doing as freelance within 2016, I was freelancing without the company name. Not until in 2017, when I got enough capital, that's when I started the process of registering Chariots Coffees and Barista Academy. Now in this, the concept changed in a way that I decided to focus more on roasting my own brand of coffee and then training baristas, establishing now a Barista Academy that had a structure itself, and then also having a coffee shop within that setting. So by the time in 2016, when I went to 2017, I'd now established an address, which was now Chariots Coffees. That's when we started now developing the company name Chariots Coffees and Barista Academy. In 2018, we fully registered this company, and now we became fully operational. And from then, since then, I started now focusing on training baristas, doing more consultancy, training farmers on the best practices, maybe through other companies giving me those opportunities, and even training barista training programs which other NGOs organized with the intention of maybe empowering youth programs. I would get some companies that would invite me always to do that. But Chariots, we focus on, number one, training baristas, which we have trained so far 348 baristas from 2018 to date. And then we serve coffee within our environment. It's a concept coffee shop where initially, when we first started, our idea was to have maybe 5 people drink a cup of coffee. Now we have more than 5 in a day because it has grown way big. Of course, it started with a small room. Now we have grown bigger than that. And then we now also sell packed coffee, roasted coffee, to different coffee shops, different hotels, and even having a coffee shop within our coffee shop here where people come and buy specialty coffee to take home for drinking. And then also selling some accessories, simple equipments that can be used to brew this coffee at home. Things like Vic60, the plungers, the clever drippers, and even espresso cups and other equipment that we use for setting up a coffee shop. That is ideally what we have been doing. And that's where we are even up right now.
So describe for us how the industry in Uganda has grown since you've been in coffee, and specifically since you've been doing this, since you started Chariots Coffees. it seems like the industry is growing, and that you are becoming your business is growing, obviously. So your customers have to be growing. What is the demand for training, for opening coffee bars, and just how is the landscape of coffee changing since you've been in the industry and being a leader in the industry?
Okay. First, on coffee consumption, it has really greatly improved from the time I started up to date. Reason being, Ugandans are getting to know the value of drinking coffee, and also Ugandans are getting to appreciate coffee, because apparently most of the coffee shops are opening, and most of the baristas who are in those coffee shops are really trained on the best techniques on how to extract the best coffees. And as we know before, that for you to have the best coffee, one of the components that you have to keep in your mind is the complexity in flavor and sweetness. And if you find baristas who are fully trained enough in most of our Ugandan coffee shops, they are able to deliver that to their customers. Hence, the consumption has tremendously increased. On the side of the training, honestly speaking, it is growing big. First, people did not know about barista as a course of its own, but apparently that most of the youth are coming to realize that barista is a profession, and so many people are coming into it, most especially those youth who want to travel abroad, because incidentally here in Uganda, it so happens that most of the youth who wants to go abroad, like the Gulf, Middle East, most of them prefer coming to do courses in barista, and then they go over there and they get bigger opportunities. So on the training part, it's really also growing very, very well. So I think that it is growing tremendous in all aspects. On the side of packed coffee, selling coffee, roasted coffees to coffee shops, because there are so many coffee shops that have been opened up, they all look for the very best. That is a specialty, which we as Chariots Coffees pursue to always be doing. So whenever we supply our coffee to most of the coffee shops, restaurants, and hotels, they never turn us down, because we always work hard to produce the very best in our bean so that they can have it in the cup. Now, the whole idea here, why we developed this concept of training baristas and having our own brand, was that within our country, if our baristas are able to access jobs within the hotels, the coffee shops, restaurants, and even bars within our country, then definitely Chariots Coffee would be able to sell this coffee to wherever their baristas are working. And actually, it is working out, because almost every coffee shop that my barista works, I will always have a coffee business. So this even makes my business boom more. It's helping me strive better, and that is how it is working out for me.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you're training customers essentially.
Yes.
And
yes.
How has this impacted? Because now that you're roasting and you're packing coffee, and people are beginning to really discover the beauty of the coffee grown in their backyard. How is this impacting farmers? And you mentioned, helping them with developing their processes, and this has to have a very positive impact on them.
Well, first of all, us as Chariots Coffees, we have taken it as an initiative, first of all, to identify the farmers who are passionate, the farmers who have got the same vision with us. And once we discover that you are the farmer who has got the same vision with us, because we believe in direct trade, we work together with you, source out your coffee as long as it goes to the right requirements, cup profiles that we need, and the scores, and then we pay a better price for that. Honestly, I'm not going to deceive you and tell you we have other maybe fair trade activities that we do. It's basically rewarding the farmer based on a cash basis. Definitely, if you're doing the very best, I will pay what is worthy the very best of your product. So we pay them really premium prices. That actually attracts even their neighbors to start doing good practices with intentions of improving on quality. So we have a particular network of farmers that we work with to give us the very best of our coffee, and we reward them. We pay them premium prices for that.
As you're talking about bringing out the best in the coffee and being high quality, being a barista competitor is one thing, but going from that to establishing a company that roasts coffee is another. So taking it back a step here, what was it like to go from being the barista to being the roaster, and how did you take on that learning process to know that you were really doing a great job?
Yeah, I learned three things about that. Number one was a passion. The second was purpose. And then the third one was love. The first thing was I had to forget about, most of the times baristas are taken like these people who are behind the machine and not a big deal. But I just had to put that on the side and develop passion. When you develop passion, there's nothing that can stop you from doing anything. So I developed passion, and when I developed passion, I decided to identify how I can carry on my passion. And what did I do then? Knowing the connection of people to work with, and then knowing even how that connection is going to influence whatever I'm going to give to my customers. The farmer, the processor, the roaster, myself, and the consumer is the most important key that I looked at. And when I looked at these three components, they would drive me towards achieving my mission of having a roastery and a coffee shop. So on the side of passion, I was able to get connected to all the chain and get out of the box and start looking at what are the things that can improve my coffee quality besides just having this connection. Okay, the farmer's done his part, the processor's done his part, and then the roaster. How about myself? And then knowing how to have the connection with the customers. So that is on one point of passion. Now, purpose. I came into the purpose of this passion was to start up something. And one of the reasons why I became a barista after that was I wanted to understand what really happens within the coffee shops that I can learn and I can transform it to myself in the future while when I get experience in the coffee, in the hospitality industry. So I did the work for over 5 years in the hospitality industry. I remember I told you Serena Hotel, but I was learning more things, but with the vision of starting my own roastery and a coffee shop. And then the love. In 2016, I said enough is enough. If I don't put my ears on the ground and start this, then I will never do it. So I had to get out of the employment industry and start my own, and that is how I was able to start up Chariots Coffees and Barista Academy. So passion, purpose, and love is what drove me into starting the roastery and the coffee shop.
I mean, when we're talking about starting the coffee shop and the roastery, and how passion can really help you through, and you can do almost anything with that. What kind of challenges were you presented with in establishing Chariots Coffees, where you really did need to lean on that to get you through?
One of the first challenges, of course, as a startup, looking for the market was always an issue. Until when I became a champion, that's when I was able. In 2016, it was not really that so vibrant. 2017, not vibrant, because there was no clear assurance to the customer that I knew what I was doing. It was not until in 2017, 2018, when I became a barista champion, is when I won the confidence from most of the people who were who were doubting my work. And most of them now came to me, and that's when business opened up with me. So that was the first challenge, proving myself to the customers that I knew what I was doing. And I only overcame it through winning the Barista Championship, and that was more than enough. Another challenge definitely was capital. But I overcame it by believing that it's not money that starts business. It is passion, and starting small is the road to growth. So I started small, and slowly by slowly, I was able to have my equipment, and I grew. So those challenges, I overcame them like that. So one of it was, first challenge was convincing the customers that I know what I'm doing. Second challenge was the capital. For knowledge, I had it. That challenge, okay, I could say I would always have inconsistencies in supply, because by then when I was starting, I didn't have a full chain to work with. So I would always be up and down. I was not well established with the chain. But now when I decided to carry on with the company, I now established a full operational chain that would not cut off my supply and quality.
As you grew and you became established and people began to trust you and you developed your skill slowly, what was the biggest challenge in scaling your business? As you started it, things are small, but as things get bigger and you have to rely on more and more people, there's the management of the operations now, where you might not be as hands-on with the coffee as you might have been before. And so talk about the scaling of your business to a bigger business and some of how you operate things now and how you needed to shift your mindset in order to make that happen and work with even more people with a bigger business.
Yes, excellent. Now, I remember I mentioned some time back that I believe in teamwork and working in the chain. So what I decided to avoid such challenges, of course I had them before, but I decided to ensure that every partner who comes to work with us, my employees, has to go through a system of training with intentions of having consistency in quality. First of all, knowing if we are dealing in the roasted beans and powder, knowing the right quality of the green bean that we must have for that one who is sorting out the green beans, and also ensuring that the person who is handling the roasted coffee beans and the powder, this has to be fully sorted so that we do not have any kind of defects that can bring inconsistency in our flavor. So I train the workers to work through the standards of quality control, both on the side of roasted coffee beans, green beans, and then also we train workers on the service of our beverages, how knowing the right the coffee to water ratio if you are doing good coffee, and knowing the right quantity of coffee to dose for an espresso. So we have all those standards documented, and there are people supervising all the activities that the workers are doing. Well, the company has not gone that so big that I can miss to check once in a while. By the fact that I'm passionate in what I'm doing, most of the times I also pass through to confirm that truly what is going to the pack, is it right? Truly what the customer is drinking, is it right? So still we are able to achieve quality by training our workers, the right standards. Whoever comes, we have to absorb that. And we also give them the vision of the company. And if we are to work as a team, we must have the same level of vision like the one I have. So making them have that perception of the same vision and pushing through to that vision is what I work hard for. So I constantly consistently continue training them, most especially on days when we are not busy, like Saturdays. I spend time relating with them, trying to do dry runs with them, and even checking some of the variables. Maybe if the coffee has changed a bit, why? And then that's how we do
it. Two questions here related to this. The first one is, how do you set your standards as a company? Is it what you see happening outside of, in the global community, bringing it in? Is it compared against yourself? Like, how do you set those standards that people abide by? And then why is vision a key component to being able to execute those standards?
First of all, I follow the SCA standards when I'm doing the settings. If we are doing the green beans, we're doing mostly the green and the roasted coffee beans. I do the SCA standards, which are basically documented and somebody easily follows it. On the side of the vision, why it's important for my workers to know the vision is that it will help us to basically have the intentions. To know the intentions of why we are doing these standards. Because if the standards are done without the customer, without the worker knowing why they are not done, then definitely they may not even understand the intention of the standards. But the standard is to ensure that it helps us move to achieve our vision, which is to grow stronger with the intention of being the best established coffee company that gives the best of the specialty coffee within our country of origin of coffee.
And when you say SCA, you mean SCA?
Yes, SCA.
Okay,
Specialty
perfect.
Coffee Association. Yes.
I like SCA better.
Yes.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I love the idea of combining the vision with the standards, and when you keep people accountable for that, the head and the heart, kind of, right? You have the knowledge and all of the ratios and everything else, but without the heart in it, just if you were mentioning passion and purpose and love, I think those kind of things can get forgotten about, especially in modern interpretations of coffee roasteries and coffee bars, where it's really, of course, you have to have a business that is profitable and run well, but there's also something very much human that you have to include there, that those things might seem like, not really solid things to build a business on, but they actually seem like the glue that can hold a lot of it together.
That's true.
What does it look like to get feedback from the community? Because you want to be able to serve great coffee according to a particular standard, but how do you go about getting feedback from your community, having it adjust what you do to serve your customers better?
Yes, that is a very interesting question. Actually, I'm really so much interested when people give me feedback, and when the feedback is more negative, I take a lot of attention to it. Reason being, if everybody is saying yes, everything is excellent, which we get quite often, you do not develop that competitive environment with you. So most of the times when we get feedbacks, we take them seriously and we apply them if they need to be applied. If they don't need to be applied, definitely, of course, we shall get another way to convince the client to go according to what we think is right. One of the biggest challenges we had some time back was the feedback of roasting coffee dark roasts. We used to have clients who were more interested in dark roasts. And to me, it was definitely a big challenge, because if I'm a person who is talking about the value of my coffee, then when I roast it darker, I've killed it. So it was a big challenge, but along the way, we solved it by engaging the customers telling them the reason as why we need to have this roasted at this particular roast profile. And to my shock, most of the customers did not know that. And when we were able to give the answers to those feedbacks, all of them truly came to realize the value of roasting our coffee, the right roast profile that we are roasting it. That is basically the medium roast. So we kept on telling them there's no need of me going out to source out the very best in the farms, do the best practices, then come and I burn the coffee. And then at the end of the day, I kill all the flavors. And this was responded positively, and we were able to change the mindsets of so many customers who were basically stuck to dark roasted coffees. So I think that getting the feedbacks is important, and responding them should also be important, and there could be a better way. Some of them may not be answered well, but others, if you're good, you can definitely get the right answers that can make your customers even probably appreciate more.
I imagine it's also helpful. I mean, you're a barista champion. Your brand is well established. There's a lot of clout. And if I'm hearing this from somebody of your stature in the community, then it's more likely that I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to give it a try, right?
Yes.
But even more so, it would seem that you're sourcing coffee from your home country. This is your home. And if an outside coffee company from the States or Europe or whatever came to Uganda and opened this exact same thing and tried to convince people to drink lighter roasted coffee, I don't know. You tell me. I mean, would it have been as successful as what you're describing?
I do think it can be successful. Reason being, the way I followed the consumption patterns of Uganda, they love sweet things. They don't like things that are bitter. And like the way the dark roasted coffees have got that association of bitterness and the smoky flavor, Ugandans will not definitely adopt to it. It is really, really possible for people from outside, for other companies from different coffee origins to come and still do the same, and Ugandans will embrace it. Because basically there are people who drink coffee that is more like, they love something more fragrant and sweet, which is more like a connotation for coffees that are light roasted, medium roasted. And indeed, I've tried this even to the local communities. When you give them the darker roast and the medium roast, they will definitely go for the medium roast. They will tell you this is burnt. The other one is smelling well. So I think the drinking pattern of Ugandans is medium roasted coffees.
Excellent.
So
okay,
they
well,
love something sweet.
Yeah, how did it seems like it switched, right? Because if that was a challenge that you had with people wanting it to be roasted darker, how did the dark roast idea make its way into people's minds, almost against their own wishes and desires for a more medium?
Yes. Now you see, traditionally, Ugandans used not to take coffee, and the coffee they used to drink was basically this. Most of the roasteries or the coffee roasters by then would pick any coffee. They wouldn't mind of any quality. And the only option they would have would be to roast it darker so that they can shield off maybe the defects in the coffee.
Yes.
Then grind and then serve to the people. So because they were not sensitized by then, they would not understand. But right now, we have baristas who understand what coffee is. We have the Uganda Coffee Development Authority that is sensitizing the people on how to consume coffee and the variables that you have to follow. You'll realize that because of the awareness the community has got, it's now easy for them to embrace the medium roasted coffees, contrary to the dark roasted coffee. Because I want to tell you, Chris, that in Uganda, if you find most of the people who are doing darker roasts, there's a likelihood that they are shielding something. They're using inferior quality of coffee, and they want to shield maybe the defects. And which most of the Ugandans now have come to realize. But I do not mean that there are no Ugandans who are not taking that roasted coffee. There are those who have remained the traditional character, and they will drink whatever coffee is coffee. And in the specialty coffee industry, if you follow very well, we are a niche. We are not a big number. So there's a special niche that embraces that medium roast, and they really take it and they love it.
So as you are catalyzing this movement towards specialty in Uganda and training up, future coffee bar owners, professional baristas, consumers that are just really into that, more into that medium roast and really becoming more aware of the beauty of the coffee there in Uganda. As you are continuing this, I mean, what have you learned over this time that you would say is the number one thing you would tell another entrepreneur like yourself who wants to do something similar, to open a concept, a roastery, a cafe, etc., maybe in their own home country, that's a producing country? What have you learned that you think is the most critical that would be helpful to somebody like that?
First of all, what I would advise is, number one, never give up. Number two, do not compete with people. Develop a concept and stick to your concept. Love your concept and compete with your concept. If you want to do anything top-notch, like specialty coffee, the moment you try to compete, there's a likelihood that you are going to mess up with the system, because you do not know the people you're competing with, the potential they have, you do not know, and you do not know where they have started from. So the thing is, get the concept, stick to your concept, and then compete with your concepts. Always understand within your concept the challenges you're going through and how you can overcome those challenges as your own concept. That's what I think. And always continue doing what you're doing and loving it. Money comes later. Money does not come instantly. Actually, money is the benefit or the value of you persisting on your concept. Otherwise, if you think that money all the time before even you start, you're going to mess yourself up. And the other thing is that the intention of this is to satisfy your customers. And you must understand the value chain and how the value chain is going to help you, help your customers who are the final consumers. So that is what I can advise my fellow people who want to join the roastery and coffee shop business.
Well said. Thank you so much. And this has definitely been an eye-opening conversation, and I'm really excited to hear about all the things that you've got going on and what you've been able to accomplish over the years of running Chariots Coffees. So thank you again. And where can we go to learn more about Chariots Coffees, follow you online, and all that good stuff?
Okay. We're on Facebook, Chariots Coffees and Barista Academy. We have a website, www.chariotscoffees.com. We have Instagram page, Chariots256. And then we are also on YouTube, Chariots Coffees and Barista Academy, where most of our training programs, we put them there. So that's why you can find us on website, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
Excellent. Anything we should be looking out for coming up in the next year or so?
Yeah, well, my concept shop, coffee shop is, I'm just developing it. And soon we shall be launching it. And probably we shall share more information about it. And God willing, we shall also have now a full operational concept coffee shop within the city, probably next year.
Amazing. Well, we'll stay tuned for
doing
that.
all those things, yes. And we shall be using our students for the purposes of getting for them opportunities.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations on all you've built. And thanks again for being on the show, Simon. This has really been wonderful.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that episode. What a great story, and so fantastic to see the kind of impact that Simon and Chariots Coffees are having in Uganda. And I just love the idea of passion, purpose, and love just driving the things that they do and how they expand their business, how they're equipping others to promote quality, and how at the heart of all of that, it's all about that passion, purpose, and love. So a huge thank you to Simon for joining us on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's really exciting and encouraging. Now, if you want to learn more about Chariots Coffees, you can explore all they have to offer over at chariotscoffees.com. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about today's Founder Friday episode or any of the episodes at Keys to the Shop, feel free to reach out to me. My email is chris@keystotheshop.com. It's also where you can reach out to inquire about Keys to the Shop consulting. And with that, that is the end of our episode today. Thank you so much for listening and supporting this show, tuning in week after week. I really appreciate all of you. I hope you have an amazing day. And of course, as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.